Hello and welcome back to your only Accies preview for this weekend's game against Greenock Morton. Before we go into that though, let's talk about our last game, the 2-2 draw against Arbroath. We kind of left that game feeling we should have had all 3 points, and it was a 90th minute penalty, the second penalty for Arbroath that game, that meant we only walked away with 1. We were all watching from home, not able to make the game. Brandon, I mean, is that a fair assumption? Did you feel we should have left there with all 3 points?
It's like David says, I think David said it. It's one of the ones, another game where before the game you'd have took the point, but once again we've ultimately left it 2 points less than what we should have got. I was really surprised with the lineup. I don't know if that's because Rankin had been taking the team for a week. He's made the decision to sort of change it up, because I think all of us, in my video before that, I said change it up, because everybody, I think, will be expecting us to play with the same setup, which I don't think you'll find somebody else that didn't think we were going to go in with that setup. But ultimately, we've changed it up. We've played both at their own sort of game, which is something we've not really done under Taylor's reign. And it was actually really refreshing to see, because we've clearly shown that you can't just play with the same setup every single game. Teams know what you're doing, and although we're creating all these chances, the setup wasn't working. And if you're going into games well against Arbroath, where you've got the sort of 2 wingers, sort of 2 young boys, they're just got to get bullied by Arbroath, which they changed up, and we were well deserved for the lead at the first half. Obviously, we scored late on to regain the lead, but I thought we thoroughly deserved it. As the game was going on, we were sort of, I don't know if it was retiring or we're sort of doing our back to our old trick time. We sort of slow the game down a bit too much. And my one sort of frustration about the whole game is we've conceded late on, but the changes we've made, like, we've not took advantage of the 5 subs we could have made. We could have managed the game a bit better, but our 2 subs we made were just like for like subs. A bit of time wasting, and ultimately a very stupid challenge, which was completely no needed, has cost us. So it was really deflating. I think a really good performance, really good setup, and a really good overall game was just overshadowed once again by our just being unable to sort of scout the lead, which happened so many times. I don't know what the exact amount of points we've dropped is, but I think it's ultimately going to, it might come and cost us at the end of the season, because it's possessions, it's games we should be coming off, we should be easily winning. We've been the better teams, and ultimately we've dropped 2 points against the team that's top of the league, which is really frustrating.
Yeah, and the penalty obviously came from Brian Easton, and who, fair play, is kind of, it was mentioned in the press that he went to the dressing room, held his hands up, and he said he shouldn't have gone to ground, but a player of his experience shouldn't be doing that in a game, especially at that time. David, just to touch on kind of what Brandon was going on about there, it was a wee bit like kind of Accies of old, what you would expect of Accies. We were at 100% tough to beat, winning our second ball, something we haven't been doing this season. We get plenty of praise from Dick Campbell as well, who I believe said something along the lines of Accies Arbroath does. As Brandon said, we kind of bet them at their own game.
I agree. I remember when the lineup came out and seeing quite a lot of kind of like negative reaction online to the lineup. But don't get me wrong, I was surprised with some of the players that were missing. But I had this kind of weird optimism where I thought I feel that we're prepared for this. The first kind of 15, 20 minutes of the game unfolded. That's how it totally unfolded. That was brilliant to see. It was exactly what you think. You think we've actually prepared for this game. I said on the preview video that I did that we should be doing better than Arbroath. I don't think that's unfair to say. And one Arbroath fan was very unhappy with that.
Absolutely tortured for that.
But I mean, I don't think that's an unfair thing to say. We, like, the players that we have, the history that some of our players have, and the levels they perform to. But we rose to the occasion. We really did kind of play like Accies of old, and we did kind of play them at their own game, and it did seem like we were prepared. Second half though, the second half was the longest half of football I've ever encountered, and when we entered that last 10 minutes, I don't know why, but I knew we were dropping points. It was just happening. They really started to press us for the first time in the whole game, that last 10 minutes, and this is how we're inviting them on. And we're just, I mean, how many times we're going to fall for that this season? We're not good defensively, and we haven't. If we're going to invite the top of the table team on us, what are you expecting to happen? It was really disappointing. It's like Brandon said, I summarised it before the game even kicked off, where you enter these games, you bite your hand off for a point, and you leave with 2 points dropped. And it felt like it was always going to happen the way that second half was unfolded. I agree with what Brandon's saying. I don't understand why we don't make changes. I mean, we'll go into this probably a bit more later in the podcast, but you have to look at Dougie Imrie at Green at Morton. I mean, they were 1-0 down, made changes and won the game. Like, that's the reason you make substitutions. But we just seem to ride the luck, and that's a loose term to say because we've had fuck all luck this season.
Just to touch on John Rankin, obviously Stuart Taylor not available, so he's taken the last 2 games. And Brandon, me and you kind of spoke about this off camera, where it felt kind of like a John Rankin team. That felt like his kind of team, and it's the kind of team that we'll touch on with Dougie Imrie that he's got going now. But those kind of players are putting that into their management style, and they're creating those type of teams. Do you expect that to change them when Stuart Taylor comes back? Or, I mean, I would think it would change, because obviously Stuart Taylor would come back and go back to his ways. But I'm kind of hoping Stuart Taylor's looking at that and seeing the kind of team that the Accies can be. Do you know what I mean? We can play the nice football that Stuart Taylor wants to, but we need to have that side of our game as well that we haven't done.
I think I saw a tweet. I can't remember who it was. I think it was a journalist that wrote it, and it was talking about just the way, the exact sort of carbon setup which Stuart Taylor goes, because there's so many Scottish teams that are using that at the moment, and it's fucking pish. It's pish.
The one up top with the 2 wide.
And it's, I understand, it will suit us in many occasions, but we've just went and proved against Arbroath, where we were by far the better team. If you change things up and you don't just stick with this exact same setup every single game, don't get me wrong, there will be games which that setup most likely will work, and it will work, but you don't need to stick with the same thing over and over again. When you look at Taylor's results, ultimately it's not really worked. He's had more losses and draws than he has wins, so you think, well, we've went into this game against the league leaders, we've changed it up, and we've been by far the better side. We've scored 2 goals. The fact that we have changed it up for that game, it might say, right, look, we don't need to go with this setup all the time. We've went with 2 up top against Arbroath. We don't necessarily need to have the same formation we went with the 5-3-2 up against Arbroath. We can maybe be a bit more attacking against the sort of lower league sides, maybe a 4-4-2, or maybe just change it up a bit. Just don't stick with the same thing up top, same thing all the time, because I think all Accies fans are calling for the 2 up top. We've not got the best options up front, so when you've got that one person that's constantly sort of isolated up front his cell, the chances he's going to get if he's up front his cell and he's not of a certain level, he's not going to take many. So if you've got somebody up top with him, then you've got a higher chance of scoring. And we're not short in creating the chances. So I hope he changes it, but I think we'll just go back to what he knows, and we'll see the setup of prior to Arbroath.
So let's talk about the game at the weekend then. Dougie Imrie has Green at Morton playing very well. He's got them unbeaten since he took over. Can't deny he's doing great things at Morton. And similar to what we said with John Rankin, he's got them playing as he was as a player. As I mentioned before, 100% in your face. And ultimately, he's got them running through brick walls. And that's what's going to make them such a difficult team to beat.
I've been worried about this game. Like, I know there's no kind of bad terms between Dougie Imrie and Hamilton, but I think he'll be wanting to put a show on. I think he'll be wanting to kind of prove a point and show what he can do. You've seen the difference in them since he's came in, like unbeaten in 6 league games. I mean, no disrespect to Morton, but they've not been anything special when we've seen them, and that was reflected in the league table. Probably same as what you could say about Arbroath this season. They don't necessarily have the most startling players all over the park, but if you've got the right setup and the right man in charge, you can do like wonderful things. And look what Dougie Imrie's doing with him, and it just kind of adds to our frustration, the Accies fans, where we actually do have what can be wonderful players at times, but we've not had right direction for years and years now, like we've all said, since the Alec Neil days. So when you see someone who we've all said is a realistic target in the past and someone that should have been considered, now showing what he can do, probably Dougie Imrie's chances are going to Hamilton are long gone now. He's put himself in the market. He's probably, the next stop for him is SPL. He'll be saying, listen, I know this team, I know these players, these boys have no bottle. So you do this, you get in their face, they will collapse. Like we've proven many times that we'll collapse, usually second half. So I don't think we'll be prepared for this one and prepared for what he can throw at us. So I'm not confident in the slightest.
Let's be honest, the standard of the Championship is pretty poor. Each team, there's not much in it between each teams. And at the start of the season, Morton showed like the sort of level we thought they were going to be at, where we thought they were going to end up. We thought they'd be in the sort of the 2 or 3. And when you go on paper as well, sort of the standard of player that they've got, you would have to say, aye, they should be doing there. The money they're spending, etc. And it just shows you, like, bringing a manager that's got just a bit of common sense about him, someone with a bit of fight, a bit of hunger, someone that proves a point, and someone that's just someone that's, I don't know, you just put a bit of logical thinking behind everything that you're doing, and you sort of fired. You make a team. Simple. And I think in our sort of our podcast with Elibert, the thing he highlighted to us is when Accies done so well when we get promoted, is they were a team, they were a unit. They had a great mixture between youth and experience, and everybody just enjoyed being around each other. And I think that's a bit like what Morton's got to do. They're not exactly, they've not got many great players, but they seem, since Imrie's came in, he's sort of rejuvenated them. They seem to be a bit of a team, and they've got a lot of fight within them, and they do have a sort of mixture of both experienced players and a couple of sort of young players as well. So it's going to be a really tough game, and I think that's where, to go back on my point, that's where we're not successful now, because we've not got a mixture of experience and youth. It's just all youth. And we're saying that experienced players are 26-year-olds. That's not experience, let's be honest. Having said that, the Imrie train has to sort of stop soon. I don't think he can. Was that 5 wins in a row? He's got 4 or 5 wins in a row. We've had a sort of bit of a break. Hopefully they've got in, they've trained well, they've sort of looked at Morton, and we've changed it up a bit. So I'm actually quietly confident about this game.
Do you see would you like to see any changes made to the team against Arbroath, or would you like to? We know Scott Martin went off with injury against Arbroath, but it's been reported that he's had stitches in his foot and he should be fine to play. So there is kind of hope of an unchanged lineup.
I mean, I don't think we need to Arbroath Morton either. They're a good run, but when you look at some of the results, obviously the last result against Queen of South, it was a pretty close game. It was, from what I was reading, they were the slightly better team, but when they went 1-0 down, they've sort of changed it up and they've won the game. So I don't think we need to show them respect as what we showed Arbroath. Okay. We've got the ability and players that we could attack them a bit more. So I would like us to stay with 2 up top. I feel that we've got a better chance when we've got 2 up top to score more goals, and because the amount of chances, we've always got to create chances. I just feel like when we get that one up top, we're clearly not scoring enough goals that we should be, going by with how many chances we create. So I'd like to keep 2 up top, but I'd also like to see more, maybe like a Kai Kennedy come into the team as well. I don't know how you would set it up. I don't think a 3-5-2. I think maybe a 4-4-2 or a 4-2-2-2. Like that. That was easy enough for me to say. I honestly think ability-wise we've got them. It's just mentally, and if we can create a team, I genuinely do think that we shouldn't be giving these teams as much respect as we are with the way in which we're set up. If you're if you're willing to play a 4-5-1 / a 4-3-3, then why can you not play a 4-4-2? It's just, we're creating all these chances and we're not scoring. So having the two up top, and Ryan and Moyo, it's going to give us a better opportunity to win the game. And I think they've shown together that they do play fairly decent together.
I agree with what you said there. And I said earlier in the season where it's not that these teams are beating us, we're beating ourselves. We've dropped so many points for our own inconsistencies. Morton showed just last weekend what they will do with, like, if we don't play this whole 90 minutes, they can turn that game around and they can do it in a short period of time. I mean, we were so comfortable against Ayr, that didn't work out. We were very comfortable against Arbroath at times. I mean, I don't know if anyone listened to the Arbroath stream, but the commentators praised us the whole game for our approach. They said we were better to everything. We were just much better on the day, and look how that turned out. So it's the same old thing that's kind of highlighted our season, where we're our own worst enemy. We need to see this game out. I've got no doubt we'll be prepared for it, and hopefully we'll set up right. Like we've proved we can. We can assess the opposition and set up appropriately for it. But we need to remember the game's 90 minutes. It's getting beyond a joke now. It's junior stuff to see a game like that, no make changes when it's like I say, I don't call myself a football guy or a tactician, but you can see like how games are unfolding in front of your eyes. We've said it amongst ourselves all season. You need to read the game better. There will always be spells in it where even if you are so dominant, there will be spells that our team comes into it, and we just don't seem to have that about us now. And to me, that seems to be management, probably being cautious for the game, therefore being a wee bit over negative. But I'm yet to really be impressed. Like, how many results have we walked away since Taylor's came in and thought, well, Jesus, we were brilliant? You know what I mean? There's not been many. We were brilliant in the Queen South game, but we all know that that's a poor team as well. For as good as we were at times, like you say, the goal and everything, the style of play, but there isn't much that I'm totally impressed with. So I'll be impressed if we manage this game, because this is a savvy team. Like Brandon said, it's not the most technically gifted football team, but it's a hard-working team with have bottle, and that's what we just don't seem to have.
We are, player by player, we have got quite a lot of technically gifted players. Don't know what it is. They just don't sometimes seem to play as a team. They don't have that sort of, I don't know if it's the hunger in them. They don't have somebody sort of driving them on. And then the in-game management just is letting us down massively. You see Arbroath making 5 different subs against us. They're reacting to the situation they're in. I've saw a lot of people on Facebook and Twitter, etc. That was their biggest sort of frustration about the Arbroath game, and practically every single game or just in-game management is just, it's pretty poor.
When you talked about the type of squad that we have, and it's young and naive, is when you think of the last time we were in the Championship, we had Alec Neil, we had Martin Cannon in the squad. I mean, can you think of many in our team that are like, you would say, they are model professionals? They will be leading that dressing room.
They're still so young, so they've not got that pedigree behind them. The only one that's
Easton.
Over is Easton.
It's not for us to say we're not in the dressing room, but there isn't many that I would say in there that they lead by example, and you need more than one.
It's not necessarily just having the leadership skills. You need experience, and we've generally got one player in the squad that's over 30. You can have all the best players in the world, but if you've not got experience, then, as Elibert says to us, it's a complete mountain, because if you've not got experience, then it's just sheer inconsistency, which it's fully proven the past couple of seasons when we've both get relegated and we're doing poorly in the Championship for where we should be, because it's just sheer inconsistency and inexperience, which we were told that's the main goal to sort of improve. We need to bring in experience, and hopefully going into next season, fingers crossed we're still in the Championship, and fingers crossed the sort of the plan that they've got is to sort of bring some experience in to sort of help the youngsters, because as I've said and you just keep saying, ability wise, that I have no doubt that they are really gifted players in their squad. It's just they need some experience in with them.
Well, listen, let's get our score predictions then to wrap this up. We asked Elibert for his, and I believe he said 1 each. Was his score prediction, I believe. I think I'm gonna go with a draw as well. I would like, as David said, to think that we will be prepared. You know, we've done an analysis. Sure, Taylor keeps talking about, you know, video analysis and looking at our team. So I would like to think we're set up correctly. So I'm also going to go with a 1 each draw.
I think we'll be prepared. I'm hoping we'll be prepared, but I can see, like I say, we're not as resilient as Morton clearly seem to be. I think we'll go in front but lose 2-1.
I'm going to go with 2-1 Accies. I think
I like it. I like when Brandon's confident because it gives me a little bit of confidence as well.
I mean, I really wish that we had the ability to wait until we see the lineup. I think that would be a lot fairer. To be fair, we let the audience make their decision when we see the team, so I think that would be a lot fairer. But no, I've got a weird feeling about this one. I just think we've not won in a while. Morton are grinding out these results, but as I keep saying, the level of the championship, there is really not much in it, and it is tiny margins when we've lost games and when we've not got the win. We've just failed to capitalise on our chances. I do think we are making a bit of progress since Taylor's came in. I just think our failure to take the chances we get and score goals and hold out games is just, and it's the inexperience that's just completely fucking us. But I've got a weird feeling about this game, and I've got a hope that we'll sneak it 2-1. I think we'll get a nail score, and it'll be a very, very nervous last 10 minutes.
All right. Well, you've got our score predictions as always. You can leave yours down on the tweet that's put up on match day. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you after the game.